Go, Lori, go, Lori, go, Lori. Go, Lori. We were going to try to start it like almost immediately. We were going to try, but we're going to get there. Why don't you go ahead and stand up? Come on. In the dark and all alone, going comfortable. Are you too scared to move and walk out of this room? Buried underneath the lies that you believe, safe and sound, stuck in the ground, too lost to be found. You're just asleep, and it's time to leave. Come on and rise up, take a breath, you're alive now. Can't you hear the voice of Jesus calling us out from the grave like Lazarus? You're brand new, power of death couldn't hold you. Can't you hear the voice of Jesus calling us out from the grave like Lazarus? Rise up, rise up, rise up, out from the grave like Lazarus. When he said your name, the thing that filled your veins was more than love's kind of love that washes death away. Now the door is open wide, and the stone's been rolled aside. The old is gone, the light has come, so come on and rise up. Take a breath, you're alive now. Can't you hear the voice of Jesus calling us out from the grave like Lazarus? You're brand new, power of death couldn't hold you. Can't you hear the voice of Jesus calling us out from the grave like Lazarus? Rise up, rise up, rise up, out from the grave like Lazarus, calling us to walk out of the dark. He's given us new resurrected hearts. He's calling us to walk out of the dark. He's given us new resurrected hearts. So come on and rise up. Take a breath, you're alive now. Can't you hear the voice of Jesus calling us out from the grave like Lazarus? You're brand new, power of death couldn't hold you. Can't you hear the voice of Jesus calling us out from the grave like Lazarus? Rise up, rise up, rise up, out from the grave like Lazarus. Rise up, rise up, oh, rise up, out from the grave like Lazarus. Woo!
Well, good morning, everybody. Good to have Jeff back with us and Noelle here today. And I don't know about you, I got my cardio in a little bit to that song, and we're glad you're here with us. For those of you who are joining us via our live stream, we're glad you are with us too. This is a brand new baby day that we get to experience together. And just like the song said, we're being called each and every day to show up in a new way, with a new light behind us, and a new set of possibilities in which we can engage in. So we celebrate this day and the ways in which it brings us alive, in the ways in which it expands our own self-awareness. That's what we're going to be talking about a little bit later, but before then, we're going to sing one more song. I'm going to go over here.
Who am I that the highest king would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Yes, his love for me. Who the sun sets free, all is free. I'm a child of God. Yes, to myself, Jesus rescued me. Yes, he rescued me.
Sing it.
Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. I am in my Father's house. There's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. Yes, I am who you say I am. Who the Son sets free, who is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am.
Good morning. How are you? I'm sorry. Good morning. How are you? So my name is Grant, and this is the August June. We are your care team. We're very privileged and honored to be here to serve you today. After service, if anybody needs prayer help or prayer support, we'll be over here. Just come over, and it's free, and we'll be very honored to help you with that. Okay, so today's daily word is wholeness. As a divine being, I am whole.
I know I'm whole, wondrously made, and a unique expression of the divine. I need to hear this myself, I tell you. But I cannot truly know wholeness if I become distracted by an experience of illness or thoughts of lack or limitation. I do not resist limiting thoughts. Instead, I let the light of divine understanding dissolve the darkness of spiritual ignorance. Remembering that divine life lives as me, I affirm my body's wholeness even if I'm experiencing illness. Growing awareness of the limitless flow of divine ideas reminds me I have all I need to experience a joyous, abundant life. And as I say yes again and again to my true spiritual nature, my life becomes an ever unfolding demonstration of wholeness.
And from Luke 11:36, if then your whole body is full of light, with no part of it in darkness, it will be as full of light as when a lamp gives you light with its rays.
Prayer. I just invite y'all to be centered in this moment with us as you hold those that we hold in this box, in that energy of wholeness, those that we hold in our minds and our hearts.
Let's bow our heads. We know there is only God, and whatever we focus on grows and expands. So we focus on the divine reality that God is everywhere present. God is absolute love, God is health, God is vibrancy, and God is abundant. Each and every prayer request in this box, and all of those in our hearts, are bathed in God's love. And we know that miracles occur daily, and if we focus on the one true reality, that is God's divinity living through us as us, we know that whatever challenges are being faced will dissolve away, and we will soon find ourselves standing in the ray of sunshine and light, love, and abundance. And with this we say, so it is.
Beautiful. Thank you, Bob. So last week, I ended the message wondering, imagining how Jesus would teach this message of God's love to a group of people, maybe something assembled like this, gathered around in these days and times. Rather than teaching them to give and pray in secret, that was a theme throughout there, without expectations of public favor or opinion, today he might say, put your ego, your personality, that one who wants to be acknowledged and recognized in your being, into the passenger seat and let the higher self move into the driver's seat, that seat of wisdom, that being that can be compassionate even in the midst of challenges. Jesus' teachings, especially those core teachings that we found in the Sermon on the Mount that we explored earlier this summer, were an invitation to those listening to examine what was most important to them, what were their values, and to describe for them the values that will bring about that kingdom of heaven, that heavenly realm from which to live and move and have our being. In all of his teachings, he emphasized humility and compassion, perseverance and peace, service, generosity, kindness, trust. He might say, if he was standing here talking to us today, that the kingdom of heaven is behaving with wisdom and compassion while maintaining inner peace, regardless of what the external circumstances are. That's the very definition of spiritual intelligence, at least as defined by Cindy Wigglesworth in her book, SQ21. The practices that she brings into our awareness, our willingness to engage with, the measurements, are the same core tenets that Jesus taught. Our ability to behave with humility, with kindness towards ourselves and others, to awaken and to follow a light that is not seen from the external world, but that arises from within us, with trust, with perseverance. And ultimately, in the midst of all this, to discover a peace, as it was described in the scriptures, that passes all understanding. A peace that shows up because that's the place that we have evolved into, worked into, strived to be as part of our everyday being. Jesus would end most of his teachings with this statement. He would say, "Those who have eyes see, those who have ears hear." Today, we might call it self-awareness. Those awarenesses of that ability to see and listen to both the capital S higher self and the small s little self, or the ego. So self-awareness is a skill set that calls us to expand and to evolve our ability in being aware within ourselves, awareness of our own worldview, awareness of our life's purpose, awareness of our values and the hierarchy of those values. What's most important to us? What comes next? So that when we're making decisions, those become the measuring stick, the guidance of which way we go. The ability to have complexity in our inner thoughts, and this awareness that there are actually two selves, two beings, two minds, two guidance systems going on within our being. Last week, we talked about cultivating our awareness of these two selves, these two voices. I don't know how many of you that were here could identify with having this conversation, sometimes even an argument, in our own mind. They used to demonstrate it as, you'd have the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other shoulder, and they were both whispering in your ear which direction you should go. But this is part of our awakening, that there is a wisdom within us. There is also that part that is centered on what's going to make us the happiest in this moment, what's going to help us to feel safe and secure, because that's the ego's job, is to give us that sense of safety and security. But when we can put that ego, the smaller self, into the passenger seat, just have it be there to navigate us. It's an important part, we need it. But not have it be driving the car, and allow that higher self of wisdom to step into that role, helps us navigate in a different way, helps us navigate from a different vantage point, perspective, if you will. She uses this as a measuring stick before we act, before we say something, do something, and it's this. When I can be in this state of self-awareness, then nothing I would say or do would embarrass me if it were posted online. Sometimes from that anonymity of being online, that little self can say things, do things. I witness it. That's why I don't get on there very often. Because even the most loving, beautiful people that I know, other Unity ministers, it's a good thing that it's a private group. And I get, we're all human beings, you know, and we get to express sometimes from that little self, but I really use that. Would I say this to the person's face? Would I act this way if they were standing right in front of me and not in some remote cloud? From a brain science perspective, the ego is highly connected to the oldest part of our brain. It is that limbic system, which is, again, primarily concerned with keeping us safe, keeping us alive. And it gets triggered whenever fear shows up, whenever there's a perceived threat. The limbic brain takes over. And when that happens, it literally lowers our IQ and our EQ, our intellectual and emotional intelligence. Those are managed in another part of the brain. When this one takes over, everything else goes dark. And we are just responding and reacting out of that place. We've all had moments, well, I know I have, I'm thinking you probably will agree, when we have reacted in a way that we wouldn't normally react. When we've said something or done something because the trigger came, and before this part had any chance to think about it, out of our mouth came, and I'm not going to say a response, because that's typically responses I think about coming from our big neocortex. Reactions come out of our limbic system. It's quick. I describe it, and I used to tell board members this, after about 8 p.m., my filters get lowered. And I am likely to say, and we used to have late board meetings, and if they went on much past 8:30 or 9 o'clock, I knew I was going to say something that I was going to then have to go back and go write my apology email to them because it's just, and I know that about me, when it gets tired, those filters are hard to keep in place. That part of me that can say, breathe, you let go, let me sit with this for a minute before I react and respond to that. Because the higher self occupies a different space. It's in our prefrontal cortex, especially this forebrain, which makes up about 40% of our brain. So it's a big part of our space. And when we're in that space, when we can be seated in that space, we have a much greater capacity to stay wise, to stay calm, to stay centered in the midst of whatever might be happening around us. So expanding our self-awareness asks us to see and to pay attention to where we are in that moment, and as often as we can, when we're aware, try and bring us back to that space in which at least I want to occupy as often as I can. It also, this whole self-awareness skill set asks us to understand our worldview, and more than just understanding our own worldview, recognizing that others have a worldview, and it may be just as valid, albeit very different from our own. It is our each unique framework of beliefs and values and ideas and culture. It is the lens that we interpret the world through. I've used spiral dynamics in the past. That's a big, broad worldview over the evolution of human history. There's things like, and you can go Google that if you're not familiar with it. There is so much information out there that you can get about it. But things like the Myers-Briggs test or the Enneagram, which kind of gives us our own personality types, can help us to realize that other people may process and engage with information in very different ways. The author talks about that big aha moment for her. She took the Myers-Briggs test, and she's an introvert, and she could see how others on her team who process things, she said, I like to process things quietly, to think them through, before I would speak about it. She said there were others in the teams that I worked on that liked to just throw a lot of half-baked ideas and build upon one another and just do it all out there externally. And she used to have some pretty strong judgments about the people that processed that way. They just didn't get the better way to process information. And I'm sure they had opinions about the way she processed things as she stayed quiet until she felt like she was at a space to share. It wasn't that one was worse or better than the other, it's just different. And we have different ways all around this globe in which we process information. So self-awareness is just first being awake to the fact that, yes, that can be true. Not just, this is the way I process things, so thereby that's the way the rest of the world, it's the right way, because it's the way I process it. I do want to say about this, though, that I watched this documentary. It was called Persona. I think it's on HBO. And it was about how in today's modern technology, there are companies taking the things like the Myers-Briggs. I never had to do this, but some of you may have. If you go, especially large corporations, you have to take a personality test as part of your job hiring application. And then they would use these to determine, and if you came up with a different configuration that they thought that they wanted, you would be out before you even had a chance to interview. That is a misuse of this. These tools are here for our awareness, at least in my opinion. And that's the other thing that I've learned to, I can have a certain view and I can have strong feelings about that view, but self-awareness starts to say, in my opinion, from my perspective, not that it is the God-given truth for everybody, but it is the way I can see and understand and experience and express the world. And because of that, part of self-awareness is also our ability to hold complexity of thought. We live in a really complex world now. We do. And our ability that we need to be able to hold these two seemingly opposing thoughts at the same time expands our own self-awareness. Our ability to recognize that there may be truth in conflicting points of view, our ability to just sometimes embrace the mystery and the paradox that shows up in life. We can hold multiple points of view in decision making and understand that right and wrong are not usually black and white. They're not simple matters. I don't know, that may sit right with you, that may go, I don't think so. And that is an invitation to just be willing to have multiple viewpoints being held at the same time. Self-awareness also invites us to get clear around our values and the priority when faced with decision making. The author talks about, and I talked about this a little bit, I'm not going to stay on this too long, but she spent a long time going, what are my top 3 values? And then what are the order? Because when it came to making decisions about work or family, she would look back to her values. If family had greater priority than work, then sometimes she would make decisions even if it meant she was going to upset a client or even lose a client because family was more important. And for her, at the top of her 3 values was God, because she realized if God called me in a direction that took me away from my family and it was that strong, I would have to follow that. Now, it may be very different for each one of us, but our own journey is to be aware of that and then use that as a guidance system when we're out there having to navigate the competing demands that show up in life. Another skill that she talks about is getting clarity about what our life's purpose is, what our mission is. Why am I here? Who have I come here to be? What are my unique gifts and talents? This is one that may change and evolve over time. We've all come here to be. I think in a certain way, but how we do that. Notice we talked about that. Jesus doesn't say how you're going to do it. He just invites us to step into the journey and embrace the way that we are being led by Spirit. We're going to be doing something in October here in a couple months on a new program. It's called Integral Spiritual Gifts. This is part of what I've been learning and discovering in this integral ministry and this shifting from a minister-centric to a more, I would say, mission-centric or community-centric, something that arises and gets driven by the energy that's present amongst the people who make up the community rather than what I think this community should be doing. And this seeks to answer those very questions. So I'm going to be offering that. I'm going to lead it. It's brand new, so I've never done it before either. So we're going to go on this journey of discovery together for those of you who might be interested. But this is an important question for us to be working with as we go through our life in the different phases of our life is, who have I come here to be? And so that is the question that we're going to take into our time where we move into meditation, that time where we go within, where we bring our attention so that we can more clearly hear that higher self, that wisdom, guidance that we have within us. We might hear that other voice of ego too, but we want to be able to then see where that brings us to in our hearts of hearts. So if you would just join me in getting prepared to bring our attention inward. You might want to just close your eyes or soften your gaze if that feels more comfortable. Bringing us into this present moment, we focus on our breath. The breath is always in this now moment. There is no past breath. There is no future breath. There is just the breathing of this body and mind and heart in this moment. So as we gently breathe in and out, we tune our ears to hear that inner voice as we block out those outer sounds. We shift the intention of our sight rather than to the external world, to that inner eye that is connected with our spirit, our soul, our divine nature. We take that thinking part of us that we think of in our head, our brain, and imagine that it is slowly sinking down into the center of our chest, into our heart space. That part that is the residence of that divine love from which we've been created. And then taking another deep breath, I invite you now to take both that heart, emotional, and intellectual intelligence and see it sink down even further until it comes to rest on the floor of your pelvic. The seat of who we are as a unique, divine soul creation. One who has come here to add to our world. It's always adding God's love, but we each have been called to do that in a unique way. And as we breathe into this, enlivening all of our intelligences, I invite you to just sit with the question, who have I come here to be? Not what have I come here to do, but who have I come here to be? And then just listen. It might be inner words, it might be a vision, it might be a feeling, or simply a knowing. We listen for a few moments in the silence. What unique talents have I brought into this world in order to fulfill my mission in this time here on earth? Taking another deep breath in, know that you can return to this space anytime, asking for greater clarity, asking for guidance in next steps, asking for the faith and the trust to step into this place that perhaps feels completely unknown. As you begin to bring your attention back to this time and to this space, know that you have come here to be the expression, the hands, the feet, the voice of God, the voice of love. It is no accident that you are here in this time and in this place. And feel that sense of gratitude as more and more people, including you, are spreading this like a ripple in a pond out into the world. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. So next week, we're going to continue this series, and we'll be exploring what it looks like to bring this expanded self-awareness out into the external world. I wanted to just give you a little example, and it's something that happened quite some time ago, of my early awareness of spiritual intelligence. It was kind of a big aha moment for me in this, and I experienced it in this community. It was in 2006. I was an associate minister here, and we had a member present an idea to the board. And I was excited about this, and so we got the information, then they came back, gave us more information, and the idea was to create a new thought, you can call it unity, but it was expanded more than that, radio station, a subscription-based online radio station. Now, I know that sounds pretty passé and easy right now, but this was technology that was not being used very much, and it required much more equipment even than what we had for our Sunday services here. And it would be a profit sharing, so as it grew, then the church's investment would, or profit sharing in that would grow. And in return, the ask was that we would give them ownership of all of our equipment. You might remember the big TVs that we used to have. Anybody, were you here when we had these two huge, like old television station TVs and our sound system? And So we got this whole presentation, and I was all for it. In my mind, I was for this. But I had just acquired a new skill that we were working with in the board called discernment. It's kind of like, it's a different name, but it's the same thing. And so I led the board after everything was presented. I led the board in a discernment of this. And what surprised me was, in my own discernment, I now got a no. No, we should not move forward with this. And I didn't understand it. I don't know if you've ever had that where you've really gotten guidance and you're going, that doesn't make any sense. This is a really good idea. It's a good opportunity for the church. I was arguing with myself. I muscle tested it. I probably used, okay, you ask again. I didn't like that answer. Okay, could I ask again? And in the end, the majority of the board received a no. And I was completely baffled as to why. And yet I had learned that I had to trust it. It was about a month later, I learned that Unity headquarters announced that they were launching this new Unity radio station. And they had gotten all these Unity ministers and even other luminaries like Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer to be a part of their Unity radio station. It was the very same vision. It had just already been put into form, unbeknownst to me. And ours probably wouldn't have been successful going up against Unity, who had the ability to touch all the people in our movement, as well as religious science and divine science at the time. It really deepened my ability to trust the wisdom and guidance of my higher self, especially when the answers didn't make sense, at least in that moment of time. Spiritual intelligence is that capacity that we have in order to tap into that wisdom that doesn't come through the external world always. It doesn't show up in the way that we would measure and debate and decide from the facts that are around us. And it's just the beginning of this journey we have to our own spiritual intelligence that can lead us into experiencing that kingdom of heaven that Jesus talked about right here and right now on earth. That's what he said. It's not out there somewhere. It's here. You just have to have the right tools in order to live from it. I began by imagining how Jesus would share his message today. And I think it might just be a song that reminds us to stay humble and kind.
There's a light that glows by the front door. Don't forget the keys under the mat. When childhood stars shine, always stay humble and kind. Go to church 'cause your mama says to. Visit Grandpa every chance that you can. Won't be wasted time. Always stay humble and kind. Hold the door, say please, say thank you. Don't steal, don't cheat, and don't lie. I know you've got mountains to climb. Always stay humble and kind. When the dreams you're dreaming come to you, when the work you put in is realized, let yourself feel the pride, but always stay humble and kind. Don't expect a free ride from no one. Don't hold a grudge or a chip, and here's why. Bitterness keeps you from flying. Always stay humble and kind. And know the difference between sleeping with someone, oh, and sleeping with someone you love. I love you ain't no pickup line, so always stay humble and kind. Hold the door, say please, say thank you. Don't steal, don't cheat, and don't lie. I know you've got mountains to climb. Always stay humble and kind. When those dreams you're dreaming come to you, when the work you put in is realized, let yourself feel the pride, and always stay humble and kind. Always stay humble and kind. When it's hot, eat a root beer popsicle. Shut off the AC and roll the windows down. Let that summer sun shine. Always stay humble and kind. And don't take for granted the love this life gives you. When you get where you're going, don't forget, turn back around. Help the next one in line. Always stay humble and kind.
Can you see Jesus singing that? That's what I was imagining. Tim McGraw kind of looks a little like what we imagined Jesus would look like, doesn't he? Well, it is our opportunity now to share of our financial good with our ministry. We are grateful for all of the streams, that flow of abundance in and through all that we do. And we're grateful for each one of you as part of those channels. In just a minute here, the ushers are going to invite you to come up row by row. And we invite you to place your gift, if you're offering one today, in the large basket, and then receive an affirmation. We've done these for this particular series, so it might be something different than you've gotten before to bless you this week. And if you give via our online as part of our committed giving, or through Venmo, or all the other places now where you can digitally make it happen, you can just come and put your hand over the basket and add your energy, see that flow moving in, or bring a card up that signifies that you give in that manner, and then receive an affirmation. So all that we give today, we want to bless it. We want to energize it. We want to see its good moving out into this community and into our world. So join with me as we hold this in our hands and in our hearts together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, Father, Mother God.
If you're watching us for the first time, we're glad you have chosen to join us. We invite you to visit our website and fill out the Connect card. And if you're watching locally, we invite you to visit in person. If you're visiting us in person for the first time, please complete a visitor card found in the pew pocket in front of you and drop it in the box at the back of the sanctuary on your way out. And now for our appreciation. He attends church just about every weekend. He's well-dressed and exceptionally polite. And he greets people with a peaceful, friendly aura. Sometimes moving to the offering basket to do so, he has demonstrated his abilities as a natural healer who knows instinctively when someone needs his energy. He's not shy about approaching his fellow congregants as well as complete strangers when he feels they need healing, whether it's physical or emotional. This sweet spirit is our church dog, Ziggy, of course. So to Ziggy, for your faithful attendance, your healing abilities, for your kindness, for your warm-hearted nature, and your sociable demeanor. We love you, we bless you, we truly appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. Namaste.
Here's what's coming up at Center of Unity. Join us on Saturday, August 24th at 12:30 p.m. Please note the time change in the Zoom room where we'll discuss the book You'll Be Fine by Jen Michalski. The Zoom ID is on the screen, or you can access it from the website or the COU app. Bring a yoga mat and join us for a free Gentle Flow yoga class in Fellowship Hall. No prior experience is necessary. Please bring items to donate to the Grace Community Clinic. Visit gracegrapevine.org for a list of current needs. Want to discuss today's message in more detail? Then join us in person or online next Sunday at 9:30 a.m. for Adult Sunday School, where there's always an interactive and lively discussion. The Zoom ID is on the screen, or you can access it from our website or the COU app. There are multiple ways you can make a donation to Center of Unity. You can drop your donation off at the church, mail it to our P.O. Box, visit our website, or use the COU or Venmo app. Your continued support is greatly appreciated.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us this
Here's
week.
what's
Thank
coming
you,
up
Ziggy,
at
for
Center
also being here. I think he's going to lead worship next week, so
Join us on Saturday,
going to be excited
August
to see that.
24th at
So,
12:30
I think we got our
p.m.
kids back there.
Please
Let's
note
sing
the
them
time
in.
change. In the Zoom room, we'll discuss the book. You'll Be
This
Fine
little light
by
of
Jen
mine,
Michalski.
I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
All right, good morning, everyone. Oh, here comes more. Two more. Here they come. All right, so we have one more Sunday left in our Super Science Sunday. Whoop, whop. Oh, her flip-flops exploded. Anyway, and so today the youth learned about DNA and their spiritual DNA.
Today we talked about DNA. Today we squished strawberries and saw their DNA.
With strawberries to see the DNA. Yeah. All right. Did you want to share?
Today we made the DNA out of gummy bears.
So they made spiritual DNA out of gummy bears and Twizzlers.
Today we learned about how DNA is the one thing that holds the human race, the entire earth, and everything that lives on it together, spiritually and internally.
Today we made DNA out of gummy bears and Twizzlers to talk about DNA and that nobody is the same.
All right, so thank you. We're running behind today, but that's okay.
All right, so why don't we all go ahead and stand up? We'll join hands, and let's do our peace song, Bob.
into this week, awareness of who we are as both human and spiritual beings, we go knowing our prayer for protection. We'll do it as a call and response. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. All right.